Welcome back, sailors. This is Captain Babyface missing my beard a lot. I'm missing my beard, and this is the Bruise news. In UFC news, I had to shave my beard, and that sucks. I had to shave it, and then it's sort of the reason why I had to shave it. Kind of didn't work out, so it upset me even more because now I look like a giant fat baby, but you know, I'll grow. It's coming back, and I'm working on it. In more news, I'm upset that I'm bald, and I also don't have a beard right now. No, so we do have some cool stuff. We got some stuff to talk about. We got Jason Mayhem Miller in the news. We got Chris Cyborg talking about stuff. We got the predictions for UFC 242, I believe it is. So yeah, we got some stuff. We'll jump right into it. Well, it's not really jumping into it because I went off for about a minute now talking about my baby-faced beard. I miss it so much. Anyways, Chris Cyborg, she signed the largest female contract by any MMA female fighter in history so far. The details of it weren't really discussed. It's just known as a multi-year, multi-fight deal, but it's the biggest contract that any female has ever been offered, so congratulations to Cyborg on that. She's definitely somebody who deserves that, and I'm excited to see what she does with her career. She's definitely on the closing phase of her career, and I definitely think that Bellator will probably be the last spot that she goes. She might get a couple wins out, but I think that from now on it'll probably be some decent stuff from her, and then probably on a bit of a decline. She's definitely a legend. She's definitely been, the pinnacle of the sport for a long time, and it's good to see her compete, and we want to see her compete against, not just the best, but we also want to see her compete as often as possible. Jason Mayhem Miller, I don't know if anybody knows who Jason Mayhem Miller is. He's one of my favorite UFC, mixed martial arts fighters to watch because he's really a polarizing character. He's not only funny, he's not only humble, but he's also crazy. He's absolutely crazy, and he's fun to watch, and he never really does anything dangerous to other people. He's never really hurt anybody, even though there's been allegations. Anything on him has been dropped. It's really just been that he's gone over the top. He said recently that he's been dealing with some mental issues, and we can tell that over the past 6-7 years since he's left the UFC. He was found in that church naked. He locked himself in that one room, like barricaded himself in a room from the cops. And I know when I'm saying this now, it doesn't sound like he's a good guy, but if you watch some stuff on him, he's actually like a good human being, and he's a smart guy, and I think he's just one of those dudes who kind of let, life get the best of him. It seems like he's come up with an apology, and he's working on himself a lot. He spent a year in jail, and he seems like he's a better guy now, and I really do want to see lots of good things from him because, again, he's been one of my favorite fighters since he was in Japan fighting for Dream and Pride. He was one of my favorite fighters when he was on the UFC, the Ultimate Fighter against Michael Bisping when they did the Ultimate Fighter show. He also did Bully Beatdown, so if you have a chance to go and watch some Bully Beatdown on YouTube, it's a great show that I wish they never canceled because it was pretty awesome. Basically what would happen is there would be kids that were getting bullied, and Jason would bring the bullies onto the show, and he would bring in mixed martial art fighters, like pro fighters, and the bullies would have to fight the mixed martial artists for money, and if the bullies lost, then the kids who were getting bullied ended up getting the money. There were a couple occasions where bullies did end up winning, but it's a good show. You should go check it out. It has a great background to it and all that stuff, great lessons to learn. It was just fantastic. He's a good guy, and you just want to see good stuff come out of him. So, and that kind of sounded dirty, but nothing dirty about it. That shadow in the background. So what happened was, if you're questioning what's going on with that, the light on this side is completely broken now, so I had to take the shade off of this lamp, and now this lamp is the only thing lighting the room, so it's a lot brighter now. Like, you can see the lights in my eyes, and the shadows casted from this side. So on top of looking very stupid, oh man, I hate my face without a beard. Jesus. And crackers. Yeah, so that's great. So now we're gonna go on to the final part. It's gonna be a quick episode, I guess. I kind of shot through that a lot faster than I thought I was going to. There was some other news. There was something about Ferguson. Ferguson was talking about how he didn't want to fight McGregor anymore. He had no interest unless McGregor had the title. McGregor kind of needs to, do whatever he's going to do and kind of make himself better too. It's not like the Jason Mayhem Miller story. Connor's just kind of been a piece of shit. But again, he's, you always want to see somebody get better. You want to hear that story where people, end up fixing themselves, and there's, that movie setting where, they go through so much bad shit, and then all that shit comes down on them, and then they end up triumphing through it all. Like, we want that triumphant Conor McGregor moment. He's had lots of triumphant moments in the UFC. He's a fantastic fighter. He just needs to put it all together and, really be a good person, because whether or not he thinks so, he's a polarizing entity in this world. He's one of the most magnanimous people to ever be in the UFC. And he has kids and people, and so many people just look up to him as a hero, and you really need to remember that. I've said that many times before, though. The other thing was BJ Penn. BJ Penn got knocked out in a bar fight. Apparently he was trying to hug a guy. Apparently they were drunk, and they were talking about some stuff, and the guy was drunk as well, and BJ went to probably go do like a "I love you so much, man," and went to go hug him, and apparently the guy must have known who BJ Penn was and thought he was going to try to hurt him, and he just punched him in the face, and it actually knocked BJ Penn out, which is crazy because BJ's never been knocked out in a ring. Like in a UFC fight, he's never been knocked out. So the fact that he was KO'd by a guy in a bar, maybe that's not so good. Maybe age is hitting you a little bit there, buddy. You better watch it. Again, he's on a 7-fight losing streak, which is a UFC record right now. So he definitely has to watch himself and, watch what he's doing. So we're going to go on to the UFC 242 predictions. We're going to start, we do the last 3 fights of the card, or the most important fights anyways, the names that most people will know. First one we have Islam Makhachev. Makhachev is the guy from Khabib's camp and Cormier's camp. He's a good guy. If you watched him in his last fight, he's absolutely phenomenal, and he's another guy on the come up. I believe they're in the welterweight division or the lightweight division. I forget which fight this one is in, but Makhachev is absolutely phenomenal. He's fighting against Davy Ramos. Davy Ramos has kind of had, one of those things. This is definitely a prove yourself fight. I'm surprised that it made it onto the card, but I think because he's close with Khabib, he probably got dragged up a bit because this pay-per-view is pretty big. The co-main event is a pretty good main event, but the co-main is a pretty good co-main, but the main event is really where it's at. People are really excited to see this fight. So, moving on. Oh, I actually didn't say. I have Makhachev by decision. I think that he will dominate the fight, but he's not a guy that those Khabib guys aren't really. Well, I shouldn't say those Khabib guys. The style that Khabib has and the dudes that he has in his camp, they don't have a high finish rate. They have a high efficient rate for wins, and not many TKOs. So although he's a good striker and he has great submissions, I don't see him really being able to do that too well. I think he's just going to efficiently cruise to the fight, dominate it from bell to bell, and he'll probably get the win by decision. UD, 30-27 all across the board, maybe even 30-26. The next fight is Barboza versus Paul Felder. I haven't really talked about Paul Felder too much. A lot of people know who Barboza is. Barboza is still living off the glory of that, spin kick that he did on Terry Edom back in 2008. He's still living off that hype. I have no idea how the guy is still considered to be one of the best strikers. He kind of is super up and down with what he's able to do, but I don't think that he's a top tier fighter. Maybe top 10, maybe number 10, if I can be honest. I just don't think that Barboza has all the pieces, and I don't think he's really as good as a lot of people think he is, and he has a very simple game plan, and that's neutralize the leg kick. Once the leg kick is gone, once you're checking those leg kicks, he's a pretty simple target, and we've seen that before with people being able to just absolutely dominate him because he doesn't have a full set of skills. He's going against Paul Felder. Paul Felder is another guy who, I said this earlier, that he's not... I haven't really talked about him before, but Paul Felder is absolutely amazing. He's one of the UFC analysts. Sometimes you'll see him doing the announcer job, or you know, the job that Joe Rogan does, you know, where they're the announcers and they're basically telling you what's going on in the fight. Paul Felder is absolutely a very, very knowledgeable fighter, as well as a very strong and talented fighter. He's super smart, and he knows exactly what's going on, and he's very aware of his situations. And he recently fought against, oh, who was it? I don't like doing this in my videos. I should have researched this before. I think it was, man, how can I not remember this guy's name? I feel like it's Mike something. How do I not know this? He's that guy that likes to really throw down. I'm hating myself for doing this right now because I can't edit this out at all. I cannot do it. Damn. I can't. Oh, I know who it is. It's Mike Perry. It's Platinum Mike Perry. He fought Mike Perry last. They had a great fight, but Paul Felder. Damn, I'm pissed. Paul Felder broke his hand in the early first round, like a minute in, so he was fighting without his power hand, which was his left hand, the entire fight, and he still almost won the decision against Mike Perry, which is pretty outstanding because Mike Perry is an absolute savage. He will come after you. He's tough. He's a beast. And Paul Felder moved up a weight class because his natural weight class is actually lightweight. He moved up to welterweight to fight Perry, and he fought an entire fight with a broken hand, or it was like a broken elbow maybe, where he couldn't throw the hand at all. I forget exactly what he had broke, but it was basically one of his arms was completely disabled, where to the point where he was having a hard time blocking and moving and all of that stuff, and he was still able to fight his way just based on intelligence and grit and toughness and all of that skill against a guy like Mike Perry, who's an absolute savage. So I can't say enough good things about Paul Felder. I think that Paul Felder is going to beat Barboza. I think that he's going to dominate him in the first round, and he'll break him in the second round because Barboza has been known to break and not have great cardio. So I think that Paul Felder gets to him quick. By the second round, he'll probably finish him off. I don't think it'll be a KO. I think it'll be a doctor stoppage, possibly against the cage, where Felder can really pick him apart because he's very smart and he's good at observing and seeing how things are, and he's definitely seen enough of Barboza. He's a guy who likes to study a lot of tape. He's definitely seen enough of him where he'll be able to break that down very easily. The last fight is Khabib versus Poirier. I've said this many, many times. I don't think that Poirier is a guy who's up to the caliber of fighting for the title. Lo and behold, here he is holding the interim title, fighting for the title. He's beaten guys to get there. He beat Pettis. He had those great fights against Eddie Alvarez. But I think a lot of those guys are also not dudes that are able. I think the lightweight division is weak right now. I think it's one of the weakest divisions. It looks great because lightweights are just naturally fun to watch. I think it's probably the most exciting weight division outside of Khabib. Khabib doesn't really have a super exciting fight, because he basically just, mauls you. And it's not like, the fun type of mauling. I mean, is there really a fun type of mauling? Like, I'd like to watch a bear maul something. Maybe not, actually. That sounds bad. But, Khabib doesn't have a very exciting way of doing things. But at the same time, he does. He does end up getting to people, but he tends to drag them out and put them in the mud and, do all that stuff. But, he's not a finisher. So, besides that, this is going to go against everything I just said. Poirier does have some routes that he needs to take. He needs to absorb as much as he can in those first couple rounds. Those first 2 rounds are integral for being able to beat Khabib. If he can survive the first 2 rounds without losing too much cardio, without getting too hurt, none of that stuff, Khabib will tire. Poirier then needs to take advantage and be an absolute savage through rounds 3, 4, and 5, and doing Poirier does very well, and that's just strike, stuff takedowns, and lots of knees, lots of body work, go to the body as much as possible, and just break Khabib down to the point where you can finish him in the 4th or 5th round. That is Poirier's best shot, but personally, I don't think that Poirier has the skill set. I don't think he's tough enough. I don't think he's gritty enough, and although I would love to see somebody be able to beat Khabib, I don't think that Poirier is it, but I would love to see a shock the world moment. I have a feeling one of my buddies is gonna just say that Poirier is gonna win just because he feels that way. He doesn't really have a reason why, and sometimes, well, he's right about it, and it's just a weird coincidence. Like, there's no logic behind why he's making this decision, but he just has this feeling, and then it ends up coming true, like some sort of Nostradamus effect. Anyways, Khabib's game plan is very simple. It's just take Poirier down and dominate him, with elbows, with knees, drag him down to the ground, put him through the mud. I do think that Khabib is going to get the finish in the 4th round. Even though I said that Khabib isn't a finisher, Poirier has been known to break, and Poirier will probably not be able to survive the onslaught that Khabib is going to put on him. Poirier seems to be very injury prone. We've seen him injured many, many times. Like, he got injured in the Pettis fight, in both the Eddie Alvarez fights, in the Gaethje fight. So his last 5 or 6 fights, he's had 3 or 4 injuries, and Khabib is a guy who's not going to. It's not about necessarily stopping. It's just that Khabib is going to put him in the most dangerous spots possible constantly. And when you have a guy who's injury prone, he's going to get broken, and then he's going to get broken down, and then everything that follows. Poirier said he's going to shock the world, though, and that's what I definitely want to see. I want to see Poirier win. Even though he's not my favorite fighter by any means, I would love to see Poirier win. I just don't think he's the guy to do it. So I have Khabib winning by TKO in the 4th round. That is the referee stopping the fight. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for watching. I will be doing my other video in a moment, and I hope that everybody enjoyed watching this one. I'm very sorry about my face. I know I probably look not great. So, I just miss it so much. Get some likes, let's get some shares, and let's get some more subs. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.